What's up, everybody? Man, it's been a while, but we're back. It is Dominic D'Angelo, and we're live on the 4HorsemenNetwork.com, 4HorsemenNetwork.com, and BrassRingMedia.com. So thank you all for tuning in. And it is Straight Talk with the Boss. We got just the boss here today. It's Mr. Magnum TA. Magnum, it's been many moons, and I am happy to be back with you here today, man.
It has been a minute, and I apologize for being so tied up. I'm a man with many demands on me, and if finding the right moment, I could just sit down and spend an hour with you has been few and far in between. So
it has been, and Greg's been a busy man too. He's not here today because he's moving. He's in transit, literally. So
yep.
He is not here today, but Greg's A-okay. We'll get him back on when we do it next week. Hopefully we can do it next week. We'll find out. But we're happy to be back here today, and it's good to catch up with you, Magnum. Let's give some shout out to some folks here live in the chat. We got Triple E, who's a regular, so he's happy to be here. The boss, the other boss, is here. Welcome back. It's been a while, and a lot has happened. It sure has. Yes, very much so. Eddie Prather, good to see you. Dom and Magnum, happy to have you. Matt Karcher, big fan. I know he's been asking about it too, so yes, we're back and ready to talk a little bit of what's been going on, a little bit of the history too, I think, too, as well. So yeah, here, Eddie asked this real quick. Let's ask you this too, Magnum. Are you, Magnum and Dom, are you looking forward to the football season? Do you like football, Magnum? Do you have a team?
No, I enjoy watching the Super Bowl, and I mean, if I turn on the game and it's exciting, that's great. But I don't have, I don't have anybody I'm passionate about. And again, it's just a time thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm more apt to be entertained watching something on Netflix than watching sports.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you there too. It's I definitely, I've always grown up a football fan, so it's like I'm invested week in and week out. But yes, I mean, like there's plenty of other things to watch too at the same time, and so yes, I'm excited, Eddie, at least. But and I think Greg's a pretty okay fan. I know he likes the Vikings at least. So.
Oh, he's way more into it. Of course, I mean he played college ball and dad in the pros, and so I mean he's that's fully ingrained in his culture.
Right. Darren Saley says he's shocked. He thought you were a football fan.
Well, I mean, it would seem like a natural fit, but honestly, even I've just never been a great spectator.
Right.
I mean, I enjoyed playing all kinds of sports and doing it, but watching other people do it has just never been, quite my thing. Back when I was younger and I enjoyed, driving, race cars and stuff when I got the opportunity. I never wanted to go sit and watch a race.
Interesting. Okay. So yeah, that was it. You just don't like spectating necessarily. You like
I'm go out there and do it. If I want to watch something to study a technique or something that I'm interested in about something that kind of intriguing to me, but just for entertainment is really never been my deal. Now I can watch, and I couldn't do it regularly, but I mean I can watch, college wrestling or Olympic wrestling, when the big events come out and everything, and feel it and get it and understand it because I was so intrigued with that when I was young. But again, I've just never been wired like that.
That's interesting. Yeah, no, but I can certainly understand that too. Even from like an athlete, if you're like an athlete and you're involved in everything like that, I think sometimes that would be tough to just watch, instead of like, unless you're getting an education out of it and you're going to be doing it later on or something too. So, but pretty cool stuff. But we got a lot to talk about. I was like trying to think, oh man, where do we start? But geez, then it hit me. I was like, well, we got to talk about the passing of Hulk Hogan, wrestling's biggest star of all time. Well, Megan, we've talked about him here several times. Greg obviously knows Hulk and the AWA and everything like that. But you always had that interesting take too, that you thought his best run was as a heel. And I just want to get your thoughts on the passing of Hulk Hogan and what his legacy means, and then we'll talk a little bit more about him too.
Well, it really did hit me funny, and it still kind of hits me funny because I didn't I didn't see it coming like the rest of the world. I always looked at him as, being somebody that, sure, he had his injuries and had, surgical procedures he had to have on his back, many, many of them. But I didn't look at him as being in any health danger. So, because we were peers and almost, about to be head to head in the 80s, it was kind of surreal to see him pass at, was 71 years old. So now I got to meet him on very few occasions, but every time he did, it was impactful. I met him when I was in Tampa, Florida, working for the Championship Wrestling of Florida, and when he was just getting going, and I saw him. I watched the Rocky movie while I was wrestling in Florida, and said to myself, that is going to be a vehicle that's going to be life changing for him. And sure enough, it wasn't a blink later, and he was on, in the WWE, and Hulkamania was born. And then, of course, his career, everybody has got their take on it and his input. But I meant it when I said, for me personally, the hulked up and the baby face deal and the say your prayers and take your vitamins and all the stuff they did for the kids was became quickly monotonous to me. But the work he did at WCW was like, to me, was like his master class. The fact he really did understand the business and really understood the psychology as a heel, what it takes to make a great match. And I think that was his best body of work. So his impact will never be denied. We've got such a crazy time we live in where every move is under the microscope, and we're measured by what we did when we were, in high school or some obscure place, or, in what we thought was a private setting. And when you delve into the depths of someone's mind and their psyche and all those kind of things, it's not fair to the profession of whether you're an actor or whether you're a pro football player or a wrestler or anything else. People look at you for what you do on the field or what you did in front of the camera for those things, and that's where his impact was. He was flawed like all human beings, had his challenges and his demons like all the rest, and thankfully we're not all measured by those, or we'd all be in a big pickle.
Ain't that the truth? Huh? I've talked about it so many times, but it's you're right. It's just like everybody has their flaws, and Hogan was not short of that. And like, I think the way he was positioned, obviously, as this huge, larger than life household name persona that you could compare it to like a Batman or Superman. Nobody on this earth is going to live up to that reputation and that kind of thing. And obviously what he said was horrible and not right and bad, but it's also like you're taking a little segment of somebody's life here and making it that biggest part of who they are and what they do when in comparison. And Mick Foley said it best on that TMZ show, was that like, I'm taking the 97% of what Hogan did positive instead of that 3%, and enjoying that aspect of him too. And, it's just like, I know Nash said that he made right with God at the end. He got baptized, like, I think like a year and a half before. And, that's kind of like, maybe his saving grace at that point when it comes to all that kind of thing. Who knows? But, I just think, to just look at somebody in that light, it's not fair to everybody. Everybody's got their gray areas, and so and Hogan, I mean, like, somebody put a graphic up there, Magnum, where it was four of the wrestlers. It was Hogan, it was Steve Austin, it was John Cena, it was Cody Rhodes, and they said, which one would you delete from WWE history? And I put, if you delete Hogan, you delete all of them, because if without him, there's nobody else.
He broke the glass ceiling. We were all caught up fighting in a territorial type, mindset for all those years. And, even when it came down to, in the 80s with Crockett heads up against the WWE, we and the old NWA and the thing that I still very passionate about to this day were archaic in our thinking and our understanding of how to broaden the fan base and the appeal. I mean, Dusty, saw it way ahead of time. I mean, his biggest thing was, he didn't have anybody who had the stroke to make the things happen that WWE was making happen. Mm-hmm. He was mad that or frustrated that that I wouldn't get an opportunity to go on the Tonight Show or these different venues that Hollywood afforded, even though we were presenting ourselves as a shoot and a legitimate athletic competition. It was just a weird time. It goes, and you look at guys like Jerry Lawler and the things he did on the the Tonight Show and all those things. I mean, if you watch the whole journey that wrestling went through, it could not have happened if it hadn't been on Hogan's shoulders that he was able to become this bigger than life, universal, recognized guy. And certainly others, to your point, the Rock or Stone Cold or different ones, you can say, oh well, he did this, he did that, but to your point, there would have been no opportunity because nobody else was able to springboard off of the Stallone deal into the the biggest push of all time deal, and he'll forever be in history books as a guy that laid the foundation for this multi-billion-dollar business and franchise that it's become today.
Absolutely, yeah. Do you know how Dusty felt about Hogan in general, like overall? Like, were they friends, or how did they kind of coexist, or what did Dusty think of him as a star to you?
He never talked to me a whole lot about Terry. He I'm sure that he respected the fact that he was such a sponge and he embodied, pieces of superstar Billy Graham and pieces of Dusty, and he grabbed onto all the charismatic things and shook them up in a bag and turned his 300 and whatever pound body of his into the embodiment of this new best of all time persona that he's able to do. So and I can't even imagine what it had to be like, the challenge from a life standpoint, the sheer dynamic, because I know what it was like for me and in my world, which was a peanut compared to the notoriety that he gained. So it had to be a lot. It had to be a lot. And the fact that he's leaves behind two great great kids and at least a legacy of compassion that he showed and a humbleness at the end where he recognized his own humanity and rose above it. It says a lot for the man.
Absolutely. Like, and it's been like definitely a double-edged sword when it comes to what Hogan was doing. Like, I mean, like, or how people reacted to Hogan. Like, there was such a negative reaction too about when he passed, but then at the same time too, there was a lot of people that celebrated, and actually like footage popped up of him doing like really, really like heartwarming stuff. Like, I saw him praying with a little girl that had cancer and stuff like that on there for like 2 minutes out of his time. And this was recent. This was like just recent it happened and stuff like that. And like, none of that ever got published beforehand or anything like that. So it wasn't like a strategy or anything.
If he'd leaned into that too hard, he'd have been beat up over that too.
Exactly. He would have got beat up into that too at the same time. So, like, it's good that like you see a complete portrait of Hogan and not just what, a small contingency or a segment of society thinks of him. You get the complete portrait, and then you make your own decision on how you feel about Hogan's legacy and what he meant to you or what he doesn't mean to you. I think so. But yeah, man, but big loss. I always say too, he was the same age as my dad. So it's like me being a wrestling fan and him being a part of that life and how I grew up as a fan, and that speaks for a lot of people too. But it definitely still resonates with you. Like, it's weird to think that he's not here anymore. So, what else we have to talk about too was kind of the big thing at SummerSlam was John Cena and Cody Rhodes. John Cena, all of a sudden, that Friday night on SmackDown, he was back to being a babyface. And then night 2 had him taking on Cody Rhodes and dropping the title to Cody. No chicanery. It wasn't a swerve. It wasn't anything like that. John Cena is still babyface. And then Brock Lesnar comes back. So, but I do, Magnum, want to get your thoughts. What do you think of John Cena and what they decided to do with that babyface turn already? Was it a good pivot?
I can't wrap my head around why.
Yep.
The why exactly, because I think he was doing a great job as a heel, but they certainly were going to have a hard time navigating it as he concluded his run, over the last part of the year, and you really didn't want to leave him in a sour note. So I think it was smart, and he really did a master's class on communication, because he turned himself through his ability to relate to the fans, show his own his own feelings and make them be able to understand the conclusions that he'd come to in his own mind. He made it very logical, and it was, there's no way in the world anybody but him, could have just gone out there and turned that whole thing around the way that he did. So I thought that part was great, and then the match itself was so good compared to WrestleMania. To me, the WrestleMania match was just very disappointing from an expectation standpoint, what fans were expecting, and not because of Cody dropped the belt. The match just didn't live up. And the match they had at SummerSlam was, everything anyone could ever have hoped for in a main event pay-per-view match. It was fantastic. Cody, gave him his respect and a clean win, and it was it was like, it's a hallmark moment. It was kind of like Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair taking Rick out and killing old Yeller.
No, I'm with you, Magnum. I think too, like, as you're talking about it and me thinking about it, it's like that's gonna be a highlight resume match for Cody too. I think at that point, like him versus Cena Part 2 at SummerSlam, that is gonna be something that he can really be proud of. And same with Cena too. This was like Cena's best match, I think, since he's made his return.
Well, so I'll even say I think it was maybe Cody's best match ever.
Wow.
I texted him after. It was just because there was such expectation. It would have been very easy not to have lived up to that expectation, and they took it. They exceeded it. They told the story, and they did respect to the belt, to the business, and to the fans. And it was the only thing that was, to me, a little you had to sit there and scratch your head for a minute, because obviously they respected him, and they had that moment at the end of the match and everything. And he leaves. Well, how could you leave? Did he leave the building? Did he get out and hop in a helicopter and flew off and didn't hear the impact of the monster that came from behind? That was the only little caveat to it. I know they had to do it the way they had to do it, but and of course they got a huge reaction. But there's no logic into why everybody sat in the back and nobody came out and said, "Oh crap, Godzilla has just come out here and getting ready to eat."
Where's Cody?
Yeah, and Brock is such a unique individual anyway. I liked him as a babyface. I thought
Me too. I do too.
Awesome. So he just comes back, just having a Brock day, and I'm just pissed off. So I'm going to go stomp a mud hole in Cena.
Yeah.
And it was good, and it'll be good money. It'll be money matches, and it'll draw ratings, and it'll be fantastic too. And I'm sure Cena would like to have opportunity to get a little back after that, 2,700 suplexes he took in that one match with him. So
Wild. That was like Extreme Rules 2015. I think it's 2000. Holy smokes, it was nuts though. Whatever year that was.
yeah,
My
so,
God.
yeah. So anyway, yeah, no, I do like it. They definitely have got some great meat to lean into here, and it'll take them through the fall and let Cena go out the way he should go out. So.
Absolutely. Who do you think should be his last opponent? Is there anybody lined up you think that they should do? Hey, how are you? Oh, good to see you. Good to see you.
I'd like to see him work with The Rock.
Yeah, he would be good. I don't think they're going to get him though. I think
I don't think they are either, but I mean that's just because of the goofy little angle they did and the I'm going to take Cody's soul and and all this stuff. It would be good, but I don't know. I mean they'll obviously get somebody that's available. There's there's tons of folks, but if I had my my make a wish list, he'd be on top.
Yeah, I think so too. Especially to all the history that they have with one another, and especially the fact too of what all that transpired the past year and a half or whatever it may be, with The Rock and his involvement with WWE. How would you think about this though? What if they ran him and Cody back one last time for his final match, title on the line, and Cena can walk away with the title, but obviously like retire and have the title with him? Would you be intrigued by that, or would that not sell for you?
No, there's no. It would look too pat because nobody would think they're going to take the title off on the guy having his retirement match, and they've already turned the corner, and it's just what to me it wouldn't make any sense. I think Cody and him as allies, there's so many things that they can do together. With whomever, whatever. I mean, they just need to get some heels really stinking hot because they got some baby faces that are hot, and
right.
They got Jacob Fatu out there just waiting for the right guy to dance with.
Right. Boy, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see who they decide to make it on. Because are you going to give it to a young star? Or are you going to bring is it going to be like Cena and Roman Reigns? I just don't know where you're going to go with it.
Yeah, and I'm feeling like we've seen the pinnacle of Roman Reigns. I don't know that we'll ever see anybody in that powerful of a position dominant again, because not that he's not capable of it, but I don't think that he would have the energy or synergy or the drive to want to work and put in that many dates and that much time and what it takes to do all that at this station and what he's been elevated to and how much money he's making for a sparse amount of appearances. It's kind of funny. You take that hungry, young lion type, I'm ready to go take on the world guy to climb the ladder and prove the point and grab the brass ring. And once you got the ring, you can ride that ride for sure. But it's the people aren't on that same emotional ride. You're not taking them on that same journey.
Right. Oh, yeah, it'll be an intriguing thing how it all transpires. People are pitching Gunther. People are pitching Braun Breaker. I don't know. I don't know where they're going to go. You could.
I haven't seen him yet. I don't know who the guy is yet. To your point, I mean, again, Jacob Fatu is, and of course, he's a character. He's not multi-tiered of different things in his skill set. And I'm not saying he's one-dimensional, so don't get me wrong. He's very, very athletic and gifted.
Right.
But can he take somebody out there and take them up and down and be in a vulnerable enough position to get people, cheering to see him fight from the bottom up? Because ultimately, babyface has got to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a really interesting lane to get in, especially today where you don't have, if as talented as say Dusty is and was, and what he was able to do in the industry, and be able to manipulate people without being able to implement the taboo thing that is no longer smiled on, which is color, to get that visual fight from the bottom up thing that a babyface could do is not the same. You're not on the same playing field because people can't feel it. They can see your pantomime and your this and that and the other, but the visual that color represented when it was done right brought a whole different nuance to the business. And it's been overused by some organizations to the point where it didn't mean anything either. But for a mega babyface not to be able to have that in his tool bag is a different kind of challenge.
That's a great point, TA. Like thinking about, like, you think about what, getting blood and anything like that conveys to an audience, and it has like the bloom is off the rose sometimes because you see it so often, and it's just it is a frustrating aspect, and to take that tool away from the toolbox, it's a challenge. It's a challenge.
It was always meant to be a main event, a main event thing, not a first, second match, not a middle of the card. That's why, the cards were programmed. You had people that you wanted to give, a solid, exciting, scientific match, if you want to call it that. You wanted things in levels, and you weren't going to give them the thing that was going to completely tear the roof off for the opening match, because you can't keep people on that same emotional high for an hour and a half, 2 hours. You had to build to some kind of crescendo, and the color was always the same way. But it was like, back then, that's why Rick and myself and Dusty and a handful of guys, it was an every night affair, because we were main eventing in some major city 7 days a week, and that's what people have been programmed to see. If you're going to see a real fight, somebody got to get busted open, because if they didn't get busted open, it wasn't the but such a level of intensity. And Eddie Graham ingrained that in us. Bill Watson ingrained that in us, and it's I mean, I'm glad in a lot of ways that it's not like that today, because I mean, obviously I've got kids that are in the business and want to be in the business, and I wouldn't want them to subject their bodies to the things I put myself through, for the sake of today entertainment, because today it looks almost foolish, because then it was before it was in kayfabe was still king, and you were still standing toe to toe with the biggest guy that walk up to you in a bar that was knocking your business, because you're ready to defend it and protect it. And today it's not like that. It's not even remotely like that, and that's probably good. But back to the babyface thing, Ricky Morton undoubtedly was one of the greatest baby faces of all time, without a doubt. And he was smaller statued and the underdog guy coming up, but he'd get color and they'd beat the tar out of him, and he'd come back, and finally come all the way back. He'd fight back until he came back, and that's what it took to do it. That formula is the formula. You get, it doesn't matter what it's funny. I've talked about Netflix earlier, but I watch all these different kind of series and different kind of things, and the formula is always the formula. It's like the good guy comes on the scene, and he gets liked, and then he gets in a pickle, and then there's a bad guy, and then he gets in a bigger pickle, and he's fighting his way back to get back up to get where he was when everybody liked him to begin with, and it's it's just human nature. We want to see people overcome, because life is so hard, if you can see somebody vicariously that you can relate to and get in there with, overcome odds, it lets off some endorphins for you to allow you to kind of experience a victory through them, and it makes you feel good.
Right. Yeah. Oh, it's 100% true, And so, like, it is. And that's the thing, too, with Cena turning babyface again. It's completely the right move. Like I think so many fans, have been not subjected, but, like, they were denied that opportunity to celebrate Cena if he went to their hometown or to their area and stuff like that, like throughout this run where it's like Cena's being this heel. Hey, we want to celebrate. This is like a farewell tour. It's like AC/DC saying like, oh, we're not going to play Back in Black, or we're not going to play Hell's Bells. We're just going to play some of the B-sides or whatever. Screw you, fans.
We're not going to do that because it's not politically correct, and we're afraid we'll be canceled, and we just don't want to live like that. Yeah,
right. That's what it would be. And so it's just like, no, we want you to play all the hits, John. And then, hey, on top of it, let's see a couple of new people here and there. But we just want to celebrate you and enjoy this run. So I think him going back to this, I think fans were when he came out in Quebec, I think it was on SmackDown. I can't remember what show it was, but he came out and the crowd just went. It was SmackDown. Crowd went bonkers for him, just absolutely nuts. And I'm like, yeah, this is the right move to do. Like, it's just celebrate Cena right now. So, yeah,
I'm interested. And isn't it funny? You think about his career. You think about the ups and downs and things he had to go through, because there's got to be some truth to the rhetoric, and he was very good at weaving that in. And he fought for years with half of them, hating him, half of them still liking him, doing the right thing, and all the Make-A-Wish things he did and all the good things he did. But he went through a cultural change before the world went through a really big cultural change, and saw all that happen and talked to people about it, and really, common sense, good psychology and everything else. And he used that, leaned into it hard as a heel, and it really wasn't anything he was saying that wasn't correct. He just was telling people stuff that they didn't want to hear. And so it's cool. And anyway, I want to see him go out with them cheering and giving him the flowers and accolades that he so realistically deserves. I've never met John in my life, but Dusty always told me, he said he's a man's man, and he's the right guy. And so I would have loved to have met him, loved to have got to work with him. Back when, and it's just good to see that there's still people that don't know how to get sucked in and have their narrative directed by a bunch of goofballs, and can still orchestrate the crowd. And along those lines, I'll segue over to I really love what was happening with Ashley and Alexa Bliss, and what a smart move that was, to intertwine those two together and let this unique relationship unfold on camera, and brought Charlotte right back into a lane in a different version of herself, but still herself, and fans can embrace it. So that was a genius move to me for the WWE to have seen that and leaned into that, and gave them that opportunity, because I've always been a fan of Alexa's work and her mic work, and just her total professional presence on screen, and her ability to just always kind of be in the right place at the right time. So she was the right one to again, to plug Charlotte back in to the pulse of what's going on.
Right. Oh no, it was perfect. It was such a savvy move. Like, Charlotte wrote that Players Tribune article, and I think that really endeared her more to the audience. But at the same time, like, pairing her with Alexa Bliss, and so she gets to show another side of herself. And the funny thing too, Magnum, is Charlotte said this, that the person that told her to just worry about authenticity was John Cena. I can't remember what event they were at, but it was a recent one. And she was just like, I just don't know what to do. And John Cena just told her, you have to be authentic. You just have to be you. And, don't worry about like what your perception is outside or anything to that effect. And she said that did wonders for her. And, so how about that? John Cena just tying it all in.
Well, and whatever it was, it worked and it's good. And, she's still got a lot of gas in the tank. I know she's, 39 years old, and, the women's side of things is definitely pushed the youth movement. And I get it. They got all these, 20-year-old girls running around that are, banging it and wanting to be on the top, and more power to them. But, there's so much vested in, that thoroughbred that she is, that they'd be foolish not to. I'm not saying she's got to be world champion. I'm just saying she's a main event money ball player and should be in the thick of whatever's going on the top of your whole scheme of things. Because I would still love to see her and oh my gosh, my brain just locked up.
Bianca?
No, not Bianca's. Her Storm.
Jade?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would still like to see them together when Jade's ready. And I think they realized, obviously they had Jade do the favor in some match, in that match in SummerSlam.
Yep.
And a lot of people thought she was going to win.
Mm-hmm.
But in fairness and no criticism to her, she's gotten better and better, but she's still not quite ready. And to put her in the position before she's ready will only hurt her in the long run. So she's got to there. I don't think they need to push her back and say, this just isn't working out, because there's something major there. If they can, it's like all the time they put in Roman Reigns, because he was just such a dynamic look and it was undeniable. She's the exact daggone same thing. And they just need to keep plodding that along until they get that in the right place. And she's going to have some insane, run with somebody and be a mega star.
Yes, 100%. Like, that's what's great. Yeah, I think, it would help them out and her out to turn her heel. I think she's such a good heel. Like, you think how she was in AEW and stuff like that. She was a great heel. And so I think, you want to kind of hit the refresh button and kind of help protect her a little bit more. You turn her heel and have her work with like a Rhea Ripley or like a Charlotte here eventually. And then she gets a little bit more experience working with the top stars going on. And I think there's plenty you can do with Jade. She's somebody that you really got a dog here, but it's great to have somebody like Charlotte still in the mix, because she's such an established talent, a legacy talent, and, still going at a great clip. So you can't beat that for sure. Let's get a super chat in here. Excuse me. This is from Dwayne Atkinson. Thanks for the $5. Do you think Vince should have been allowed at Hogan's tribute show?
No.
Yes, I agree.
No.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, he doesn't ever need to be on that programming again.
Nope. And if you did that, it would have completely overshadowed the tribute to Hogan. Like, that's all people would have been talking about.
The longer he's been gone, the more people have finally been able to let their guard down and express what we've all known in our hearts about the working environment and everything else. And, again, another person that contributed, broke the molds, broke the ceiling, broke down every barrier anybody ever thought about making, wrestling a global sensation. But, that departure, it's probably overdue, 5 to 10 years before it happened.
Yeah, definitely. If you were watching the product on a week-to-week basis, you would know that Vince was not hitting his best moments for sure from a creative standpoint. And, from what the allegation seemed, it seemed like that's the way he should have gone anyways. But did you catch any of the TMZ documentary with Vince on there talking about Hogan?
No, did not.
Oh, you didn't? Okay. So he was on there and he talked about Hogan and being, I think, upset that he wasn't there, and how he would have handled the Netflix boos when Hogan got booed. He would have handled it differently. And it's just, I mean, like you've even mentioned it. We talked about this before, was that like, hey, Vince getting back into wrestling as another wrestling company would help the business because it's more companies and stuff like that. But from what we're seeing with Vince, it's just like from a presentation perspective, it's not good. An optical look, I guess. So, no. So good question, though, Dwayne. Thanks for asking. If you guys do have questions, I see a couple more. Feel free to use the super chat. That it will definitely help out so I can stay on topic here with other things. I did want to talk to you, Magnum, about I mentioned Gunther earlier. I wanted to get your thoughts about what Bret Hart had to say about Gunther. Have you heard about this?
So I saw some I guess, snippets from their conversation, and he was basically knocking him, saying that him being stiff and taking liberties with people by laying those chops in like he does and everything is being lazy. And the thing that made me a believer when I was young was watching Wahoo McDaniels and Johnny Valentine.
Yeah.
And is that what everybody needs to be doing? No. Mm-hmm. But is there still a place in the business for that? Yeah, there is. And I would rather see that than guys, jumping on thumbtacks and all kind of just insanity, stupid stuff to get a pop than any day of the week. Ronnie Garvin, he had a ferocious overhand chop, and I know it got pretty well. That was a little snug. So it was the thing that made believers out of people. And it's like, even today, you could go watch a card with independent card or anything. You can watch 10 matches and see one of them where they capture your imagination. You don't know if they got pissed off or not.
Right.
You don't know if it's real.
Mm-hmm.
If I'd like to see Gunther hit Brock Lesnar like that and see the receipt, because I know what he did to Braun Strowman when Braun gave him a little tap and he straightened him out pretty quickly. But
that wobble, did you see that wobble?
Yeah, I don't say that in a bad way, but no. I'm just saying, Brett, was brought up hard, training in the dungeon, and I'm sure got stretched more than one time when he was learning the business. So it's not that he's not tough in his own right, but it's not flipping ballet. It's just not. It's for men. It's rugged. You're supposed to be different than every Joe Blow walking the street. And and if you can't go, then stay home and watch it on TV, because that's what it is. I feel horrible that he, had the incident he had with Goldberg and got hurt, and attributes that to get ending his career prematurely. Tommy Young took a bump in the ring and caught his neck on the back of the bottom rope, and took his career out. Things happen in what we do, and it's a tough deal, but it's not lazy. I guarantee you, Gunther works his ass off in that ring, and he can take it. Somebody dish it back to him.
Right.
I would love to work with him, because that would just, okay, we're all on the same page.
Right. We got it. We know what we're about
from here out.
we know what the agenda is here.
Yeah. I think that's a good thing, and everybody just can't handle it. But but you don't again, just like the color, just like you don't need 10 people on the card doing that thing.
Mm-hmm.
In Japan, where they call it hard style.
Yeah, strong style.
Strong style. They they got guys that stand in the middle of the ring and pound each other and do all that kind of stuff. And see, to me, that's too much.
Yeah, that's yeah.
You know, I mean that's ridiculous. But the way he does it, they're meaningful. They're not. It's not 100 of them. It's 2 or 3 of them that you feel the impact into the 25th row.
Yeah, that's part of his repertoire, and so when he pulls it out, it means something. And then I loved his match with Punk. I thought it was a lot of fun, that the SummerSlam match. I thought him and Punk were great together.
Yeah, man, Punk is such a hand. I must have missed and not. I must have been working in the tower business hard or something when he was, and not getting home and seeing the show, because I had no idea he's as good as he is.
Yeah, right.
He truly is one of the best, ever. So his timing, his everything is, and again, he can work. He doesn't have to be jacked up to the moon and look like, he's on testosterone replacement therapy, so he can, look like he's 25 and he's, older and all that stuff. He can just work,
right,
and his good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, it's A+ stuff for sure. Yeah. Punk has always been one of my favorites, and I think it's really cool the run he's on right now. And I like it. I like what they're kind of doing with him. And, he's the seasoned veteran at this point. Darren Staley also adds about the Bret Hart thing. He said, Hart also said that Gunther was doing it to intentionally hurt people. That's what I disagreed with the most. Also, Hansen had the best chop as well, Stan Hansen.
Yeah. Well, he was, Stan just couldn't see.
Yeah.
Stan wears big old Coke bottle lens glasses.
Yeah.
And so when he takes his glasses off and throw you in for a lariat, you didn't know you were going to get hit here, or wherever at Mach 7. And he worked over there, I think, in Japan with Brody so much that they just killed everybody that it made it even worse. I'm sure if Greg were here, he could all this. But I think he was cannon fodder for them on more than one occasion.
I think RVD can attest to it too. Rob worked with him in Japan too. So, oh man, Stan Hansen was great though. What else? Oh yes, geez, another big news item going on too. Magnum, WWE and ESPN together. They're going to 2026. All the PLEs are going to be on ESPN. Who knows what else? But it's a $30 price point a month. Something we're used to on Peacock is like being $11.99 or $10.99 or whatever. And so, but now they're expecting fans to pay that higher price point. Obviously, you're getting a little bit more ESPN and NFL and stuff like that. But do you think the ardent wrestling fan base is going to transition over and pay that price point now?
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, they got a lot for their money with Peacock too. I mean, it wasn't just, I think the association, the name association is, because of ESPN being, who they are, what a powerhouse duo. You got Netflix and ESPN. I mean, you're not going to get much stronger than that. So you got to figure their parent company, making all the right moves, and they just did something similar with the UFC, right?
Right.
They made a real strong move.
Paramount had the real big deal. So obviously, WWE and ESPN, it's $30 a month. Well, UFC's making the jump over to Paramount. You're going to pay the same price point you pay for Paramount and still get all the UFC stuff. You're not paying a higher price point. So the UFC's completely doing away with pay-per-views. And it's just like you get to tune in and watch it if you get Paramount or CBS. And that's making it to a much wider fan base. It's not, you don't have to go through 2 paywalls like you did previously with UFC. Now it's just boom, it's right there. So
that's smart. And it's smart. But to your point, the $30 a month gimmick, if you like a lot of things that are on ESPN, because they'll give you access to everything on ESPN too, correct?
Right. Yes. From what I understand, that's it. And if you already have cable and you have ESPN, you're going to get the WWE pay-per-views already, the PLEs. So
right. So, is it going to the people that are used to be able to just have the convenience of clicking the button are going to click the button. That's pretty much what it amounts to.
Yeah. That's it too. So yeah, pretty. But yeah, I think it's and it's a very intriguing thing. It'll be interesting to see how ESPN handles WWE and how WWE coexists with ESPN. Like, it seems like a big pie in the sky thing. You know, you think about years back. Obviously, Greg and the AWA were there for a little bit, but when the '90s hit, it just seemed like so faux pas almost to have pro wrestling on ESPN now, and now it's part of the ecosystem. So, very intriguing.
It's a new day.
It is. Yes, it is. Hey, might be a new day for Karrion Kross too. He we talked about a little off air how it looks like he's on the outs. Him and Scarlett of WWE, after what was a captivating ending for him, he did like a little documentary talking about his exit. He was on Ariel Helwani, going in depth about stuff, and like he did the grassroots campaign where you get that fan base, that organic fan base, really cheering and getting behind you for weeks on end. And here it looks like he's gone. Looks like he's a free agent. Him and Scarlett both. TA, we talked about a little bit off air, but yeah, let's get your thoughts on Karrion Kross.
And the reason I hate it is it's not like back in the day. You'd leave a territory that was hot. You'd go to another place and it could get hot, and you can do the same thing. So I mean, he can play the indie game, and probably do really well with that for a given period of time. But to keep yourself in the relevance game and out there, if you're not on television, regularly or in that platform, it's going to be hard to keep all that going. So, I wouldn't be surprised if AEW wasn't interested in them. The two of them together are so dynamic, and I think they really just did him a total disservice by downplaying her role and what she was able to contribute, because they acted like she was just arm candy, and she can work, she can talk, she can do it all. There's some dynamic there, some reason. They never let that full package develop the way that it could have. But it is he's still young, and stranger things have happened. He could be gone for 6 weeks. He could be gone for 6 months. He could be back before the end of the year. You just don't know.
You just don't know. No, the thing about Kross that I've always liked is his willingness to put himself out there and to be creative and like use that creative outlet. Even when he was with WWE, he would still be making his own like videos and vignettes and stuff like that to still work and try to get himself over, much like a Matt Cardona in certain ways, but obviously in a different light. And but him and Scarlett together, man, just like what a power couple. And I was just like itching for the moment where you like make those two and utilize them and make them a prominent act, because like Scarlett is so talented. And I think, we only saw a little sample of what she was capable of on WWE programming, but you talked about how she worked with Tessa before and was so talented on the indie scenes and when you saw her then.
Well, TNA used her well. Of course, they used him well too. And when they got together and started doing their routine, it was just very, very dynamic. And then it would have taken somebody, if Dusty had seen the two of them walk into Florida back in the day, or walk into the Crockett's, he would have had a field day with them. He would have had him the biggest killingest heel with that girl, and had her helping him screw everybody over in every match until he got to work with them, of course. But I mean, he would have had a heck of a run as a main event, real, he getting healed, but he would have utilized that extra person with the capacities that they had, and not just wasted it and giving somebody a paycheck for walking out and smiling and selling in the corner and pantomiming everything that happened in the ring. I mean, she did it all.
Right. So, well, the thing is, Magnum, you mentioned AEW. Well, there's like some sort of kind of a little bit of a conflict there, because they have Don Callis there. And, when Kross and Scarlett were in TNA and Don Callis was a part of it, there was some rumor and innuendo about maybe what happened backstage when in regards to like some sexual harassment stuff when it comes to Don Callis. So who knows if they would actually make the move over to AEW.
They like to work an angle.
Yeah, that's true too. Make it business. That's the one thing to do. Oh man, yeah. I wish more wrestlers and talent and creative would be willing to do that sometimes. You just got to make business.
Well, I mean, look at what Kevin Sullivan did with Nancy,
right?
And back in the day, and what people have done historically in the business. Look at Dagon, Missy Hyatt and John Tatum and all the different little twists and turns and things she had with relationships. I mean, it's just an open book for a soap opera, and why not capitalize on things that are so close to reality, and everybody just wants to work and make money anyway. So I mean, frankly, I'm surprised Ricochet hadn't got his wife involved in some kind of gimmick too, because I mean it's only a matter of time before something spins out of all that.
Right? Yeah, it's just a matter of time for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would either way. I just hope to see them somewhere. But yeah, I think Kross and Scarlett together doing this created a good opportunity for themselves if they were exiting WWE, because you're like marketing yourselves in such a unique way. Hey, let's run this documentary, show our side of the story, but also show like the fan base and what we cultivated over this course of time, and try to turn that into something.
No, what he needs is a Hollywood producer to see that shtick and write some kind of DC Comics type action movie.
Yes.
Put them in it and him tell everybody to go take a flying leap.
That's
because I mean, I'm serious.
No.
I mean, you got the femme fatale in that kind of heel character that can come across on film and have take twos and get it all perfect and edited right. Good gosh, man.
Man, yeah, 100%. Man, you guys would have had a good act two going if you could have you and Kross, if you get in a fantasy world.
Yeah, it would, because I mean, I like those edgy characters. They're interesting, and I guess that's kind of the thing. The whole thing you trying to get. I mean, you've got about 4 guys on the heel. I mean, on the men's side, that there's interesting things, and there's a lot of things that are good, but they're not like intriguing.
Right.
And so they got to get that intrigue factor going, and I think Brock and John Cena will be a thing, but Cody's got to he's got to have somebody to play off of.
Right.
And I don't see anybody that's just sitting there that I can instantly. I mean, you can go work with any of them. Don't get me wrong. You got to work with them, have great matches, but to have that thing it gets personal, and you want to see him go kick their ass is going to take a special guy.
Right. Well, I think they're positioning Drew right now, and I think he's going to be great for them. But I mean, are they only doing that short term? I would want that to be more of a long term feud if they're going to do something like that.
And that's the unfortunate part with having the longest running, soap opera on television.
Right.
You've got to have some freshness in there somewhere. You can only come up with so many scenarios, so you got to come up with other people to do them.
Mm-hmm.
So unless MJF were to slide in the back door, or just something completely unforeseen, or somebody just become a breakthrough that's in the pipeline in the school down there, in the training center that we haven't seen, because there could be I'm sure there's some diamonds in the rough down there.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what they do.
Right. Well, the Triple E made mention of the name too, Obafemi, and I think Obafemi's had such a great look in NXT and stuff like that. And to be honest, I haven't seen a whole lot of his work, but I know he can wrestle. But he's got a great look, he's got a great voice, and I think if he's somebody you can kind of shock the system and add a fresh new element out of nowhere, that's somebody you could really, I think, rely on to maybe do that with Cody at some point. Have somebody very unexpected, and then in the same time too, you're hitting back that note of Hulk Hogan going up against a classic, slaying a dragon. That could be potentially, so back in the peak WF days. So it's like you're hitting that note with some people too, I think, at the same time. Cool. I wanted to see if there was one more thing I wanted to cover. I did want to cover this, Magnum. So Marcus, he sent me a picture this morning, and he was like, you got to show TA this and ask him about it. And I was like, heck yeah, I'm going to, because he knows I'm a huge Scott Hallmark. So this popped up, Magnum. Look at this. You want to talk about 2 mustaches?
Oh, yeah.
Look at that baby. When did this happen? Was this in Florida?
No, that was when we were running Kansas City as a subgroup, I guess, of what was going on in the Crockett's.
Oh, really?
They would send some of us up there to sprinkle in what they had going on the show, to try to help the draw. And I've known Scott. I met him when him and Dan Spivey first got started.
Yeah.
In the Carolinas, and so I knew him, great guy, and of course he just got bigger than what he did. He was huge in that picture.
Right.
And so it's funny because him and I got to laugh about it. We were in. As a matter of fact, it was the first show AEW did in Vegas, and he and I and Kevin Nash and a couple guys, we were all staying at the same hotel. And my son was there with me. We had driven cross country to go be there for the thing, so we would always end up in the bar for evening cocktail and dinner, and so he told the story so my son could hear it. He said, "Yeah," he said, so and so, whoever it was booking, I don't remember who he said it was. He said they had the brilliant idea of calling me Magnum Scott Hall. He said, "How smart is that? We're going to take the #1 babyface in the whole stinking country and have me tag that on as a tagline for me." He said, and I was last. Well, I stood in that picture and I crouched down so you could look as big as you could. He said, "Well," he said, "if you stood on my wallet, I wouldn't have been able to see your kneecaps." So he he's such a good soul and a good heart, and but he understood the business because Dusty helped get his start, and he went on crazy journey, but just such a talented guy. And I remember when Dallas Page brought him into WCW as a diamond stud before he went up and became Razor Ramon. And just big, athletic, could talk, was funny. Him and Kevin together were just a hoot. Before they ever became stars, they were always stars in the car because I just like to hear them talk. Yeah. I always said to myself, I said, if Kevin could ever get on a camera and come across 1/10 the way he comes across in real life, I said is going to be a mega star. And of course he has, and made countless movies and everything else. And helps be 7 feet tall, but have personality plus and be 7 feet tall and be in shape on top of it is a pretty cool thing. So.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the thing too. It's without Nash and Hall, Marcus and I would not be wrestling fans. We wouldn't. They got us hooked. They got us hooked. So pretty neat. I love that story, and I'm gonna have to print that photo out and get you to sign it at some point, TA.
I'd be glad to.
Thanks, man. Well, this has been fun. I'm glad we're back, and we got to chop it up a little bit, cover the current news. Thank everybody for tuning in. Triple E, Eddie Prather, Darren Staley, Matt Karcher, and several others too. Josh Goodwin's a new guy that come into play here, so feel free to always tune in. I'll keep everybody posted about what we'll be doing moving forward and everything too. But yes, if you're tuning into brassringmedia.com, be sure to like, share, subscribe. If you're on 4horsemanetwork.com, do the same. This episode will reside on Brass Ring Media, and so will all the clips. So if you want to just take and see what we're up to and what Magnum has to say, that will all reside on brassringmedia.com. So please take a look at that. More stuff to come too. I got to have a meeting with my co-owner, Zach Haydorn, about some merch opportunities and getting a store back up and cooking too. So, but yes, be on the lookout for that. But TA, this is good stuff. It'll be nice to have Greg back too after he's done moving.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, miss us just getting together.
Yes, I know. even just chopping it up beforehand and stuff, whether it's, what Greg's got going on or anything to that effect. So he's a real pot stirrer, that Greg.
I keep having to remind myself that he's 10 years my senior and give him a little bit of a, bogey for all the things that he's still actively out there trying to do. So
yeah,
he's a good guy.
He's a great guy. I love Greg. Greg's the best. You're the best 2TA. So we'll have to reconvene next time here on Straight Talk with the Boss. That's Magnum TA. And hey, we can't wait to see Greg Gagne too.